Hello everybody and welcome back to week number 5 of the Quake Pro League. Thank you very much for sticking around during the delays. Had some technical issues as I'm sure you've seen on the stream already. Sorry about that, but hopefully we are now actually officially back in business and ready to go into our next matchup for EU and CIS. It's going to be Raisy and it's going to be av3k.
Which actually should give us a fairly good game, hopefully. All of EU today did look fairly nice, right? I think that's sort of been the storyline we've had over most of the days. EU always gives us a good sort of bang for our buck across the board. Getting straight into this one probably pretty soon. I feel like this is really going to be a serving that everyone is going to be excited to get.
Yeah, you guys have been waiting around enough, so we're going to try and get into the game as soon as possible. We have got Raisy to go over. Obviously, this is one of the players that I think is on a lot of people's radar and kind of always has been throughout the duration of Quake Champions. But in Pro League, he's looked pretty damn solid. I mean, you always kind of expect him to do well versus everyone. There's very few players out there that you see him go head-to-head against and go, hey, I don't think Raisy's got a chance. He's one of the players. If you're a betting man, you're going to probably bet on him. But he has got a pretty severe opponent ahead of him in av3k. We'll see how he does today, Jackie.
Yeah, I think this, again, is just going to give us an awful lot to work off. In terms of the matchup, just straight away, Raisy, someone that can do an awful lot of damage. av3k as well, just seeing some of the clips here from the moments of when they faced off before. Again, another rematch that we've had given to us. Today, another one of the double helpings of rematches, which are always exciting. Obviously, as we touched on before, it gives us those benchmarks. It gives us a lot more to work at. Was it a fluke? Is it something that's going to be consistent? Today, we're going to get that answered.
I'm actually kind of happy to see it because we're reaching a point in the league where things are starting to get nice and even and players are starting to figure out their place in the league. Speaking of which, av3k is going to be up next. He's always a solid performer, and you can always expect him to do well as well. I mean, I think we're going to say that about players a lot, aren't we? Because, I mean, that's why they're in the Pro League in the first place. But there's no getting around the fact that he has got a titan of an opponent, Raisy. Potentially 2-1 here, I think. The champions are going to make a big difference in the matchup that we're going to be seeing. I've already seen that some of the picks got through, and the predictions, the experts' predictions that were made during the break, the numbers signifying the minus symbol signifying more advantage to a player. If it says -2 to +2, the player with the -2 is predicted to have the advantage in that matchup. And it's no surprise that Raisy, having a clutch selected, he is predicted to have the map win on that. I feel like if Raisy has clutch, I think that's kind of almost like a done deal. You very rarely see him lose with that champion because he'll pick it for the right map as well. So it's a very sort of scary combination.
That's why I think it's fun though, because it's obviously one of those where you look at it on paper and you're like, all right, this is fundamentally how it should go. But we said that before. We said that about game 1, right, of how things theoretically should go, but they didn't. They were way closer than we ever expected. They provided us with actually a very insightful game and sort of the changes of playstyle between both of the players, the way they slowed everything down way differently to what we sort of thought we were going to have going into it, whereas this time around I think this is going to be a bit faster paced. I feel like this is really going to be the one that serves us with a couple of frag highlights, a bit of a frag movie game, if you will.
I feel like when it comes to these two players, you're almost guaranteed that in the first place. There's a reason they're sort of held in such high esteem. av3k for, I suppose, his legacy, like many of these players, and Raisy because of just how much of an explosive player he's been in Quake Champions in particular. I think on the off chance that there are players joining that haven't seen a Quake broadcast before, this might be your first Quake Champions show. It's always going to be a difference in, I guess, legacy experience that, look, this is Quake Champions. This is the Pro League for Quake Champions. And loads of players in this league have history with previous games, but Raisy is really not one of those players that you think about for that. He had a little bit of experience in Quake Live, but his entire, I think, career has been shaped on this game alone, which is almost like so insane that he's reached this level of play, because there were so many people out there that might have thought, experience they had in Quake. I'm really glad to see that there are players out there that kind of made Quake Champions their breakout game, and Raisy's like almost at the top of that list. Him and Wenger is another one that you would think of in that respect. And the two Maestro boys repping the flag well, and hopefully we'll see if Raisy can continue to keep his good streak going. I know he had an unfavourable loss to Cooler last week, and but I mean, that happens, right? You're facing off against Cooler. Don't be ashamed if you don't get a win.
Yeah. Is that going to be another end point here for him, though, where he does actually go down once again and lose out? That's going to be the big question, right? But as you said, it's the fact that it's more kind of a blessing and a curse in some ways, because some people are going to have their eyes on you and just sort of feel like, right, it's kind of different, the play style of how you're approaching the game. Mechanically, though, if Quake Champions is your only Quake and you're coming into it fresh, all of that mechanical skill that you're learning doesn't have old bad habits that are still in your mind of how you should approach the game in a different way, right? Because it's also the fact he's learning from the ground up, being able to incorporate everything into his playstyle that he knows he needs. There's no excess old mechanics that are going to slow him down, and we're not going to be slowing this one down. We're going to be jumping straight in, straight away, give you the game you've been wanting and waiting for, as we are ready for Raisy versus av3k.
I'll always think about Raisy when this game first came out. There was always this talking point of players that were kind of trying to play, maybe they were trying to mentally play different Quakes early on, you know, while they found their footing, and Raisy kind of playing one of the first people in the business to play Quake Champions. You know, this guy had his head screwed on of how to play this game as a unique experience, and his results and his success came from that in droves. But now, a little bit of an exchange. Not too much of a delay in between Mega and Heavy, so av3k looking pretty good for that, and I think that rail's going to scare him off as well. Raisy forced to retreat to limited resources, get as much damage as he can from far away, but inevitably there's going to be a fight breaking out, and av3k has the stack advantage.
He's already starting to get those totem down. And then you need to remember as well, again, Zoot's famous quote, you have to kill those totems. You can't let them live, and that's exactly what is going to happen. Raisy, he's on the hunt for him. He eliminates the first as he wants to try and remove any chance of an overstack potentially coming through a little bit later on. Already a minute into the action. It's been a bit of a fair stalemate so far, although this is where it could kick off, actually. Bouncing straight into a rail. Oh, the vertical flick up as well with the LG. Going to spook Raisy ever so slightly and force him to back off, as he can't overcommit to this just yet, Ryan. He needs to try and take his time, approach it methodically, rather than rushing in too headstrong.
av3k's in that weird position where he temporarily had the advantage, but that's the thing about Awoken. There are so many little places you can go to get health here, health there. Very rarely are you kind of trapped, especially when you're this level of player. You've always kind of got a backup plan. In this situation now, a fight's happening. av3k's taking a lot of damage. Thankfully, he has got the Galena Totem to stop the bleeding just a little bit. Has to use the downtime and hope that he misses. Raisy overstays as welcome. Goes in for the double jump to make himself even more easy to hit. And that's a turnaround. He's going to try and berserk. Man's just going to see red, and it's going to cloud his vision. He's going to lose another frag. And I mean, the berserk, it must have just been an attempt to just try and get a bonus frag, right? We know the berserk does decent damage per punch, but I feel like he failed to hit his mark at all. He chases it down, and he finally gets the frag. But at what cost, Jackie?
Well, we'll see if there actually will be a cost to this, or if him pushing the agenda was actually the correct play to make entirely, because right now, he's starting to tie up the scoreline. It looks like he actually could do that right here, right now. If he goes aggressive, he's getting av3k so low, he is going to have to drop the escape totem to try and stave himself alive and back off. Gets some more HP to play to his stack, turns back in as well, goes for the re-entry, a reface that I don't feel like Raisy was actually entirely ready for, and now that's instantly negated. It doesn't matter that he's found an early frag. At this point, av3k's 2 ahead already. He's got the Mega to work with as he's dropping those totems when he can. It's going to be back up in 5 seconds. If he can get another frag here for free as well, it will be happy days for him, Ryan. And it's going to be one on the way out. The little peace out waving as he says goodbye with a lightning gun.
Raisy being far too aggressive at the moment. You know, right there, av3k. I mean, this guy was known for being one of the original aggressive players. You can't teach the master. In this situation, what's going on there was just patience. You know, Raisy's trying super hard to just force a situation. av3k, he heard a little rocket. He knows there's a rocket jump. He's just sitting there waiting for it. Gets the free LG, wins the fight, and I feel like there's a different level of composure. I feel like av3k is just playing this a little bit more methodically, which is why it's a 4-1. And it's pretty early too. This has been an explosive match so far.
That's the thing. Compared to our opening series of the day, it was very slow, very methodical style of Quake that we actually had coming to the table here. Instead, it's a lot more high-octane, aggressive stuff. When they find themselves in a position to actually try and get an advantage, they go for it full-handedly. And this time around, they're going to do it once again. av3k, he's dropping the totems. It will get destroyed instantly, so it isn't going to give him much extra to work with. He's ready for the flick up as well, though. The rocket is going to spook off Raisy for the meantime. He doesn't want to overcommit onto it, knowing with that little bit of fear scaring him, getting his heart beating as well as the rockets are whizzing so close to him. That's going to leave a ringing in his ears.
Yeah, I think we all felt that one, especially if you were somehow watching it through Raisy's perspective. Pretty sure you can hear the wind brisk past his helmet. And he's going to get hit by some rocket damage, though. Raisy taking his opportunity. av3k missing the shots, unfortunately. So, you know, even though that wasn't an amazing position to put yourself in the first place, not hitting the shots doesn't help the situation at all. Okay, here comes some damage. Raisy knowing it's a rocket fight, and he knows av3k spawn. I really love that strategy. You know, Doomslayer's double jump makes it really hard for him to get hit by rockets. You know, ultimately, you're in the air for so much longer, they have to show a lot of respect. And Raisy, knowing that av3k spawns right near rocket, it's the only weapon he's going to have. He's not going to be near LG, so why do I have to care about double jumping at all?
Coming up to the 5-minute mark now. It looked like it was actually going to be a little bit of a lapse in the action. Instead, it's the exact opposite. They're straight in, trying to give us a bit of a show here, Ryan. Oh, he barely stayed He's alive! Raisy! He was able to grab himself the Mega, but both of them are going to trade at this point as they both go down, leaving them in the same stalemate position, but this will be the game changer. The drop on a totem is so clutch! av3k survives purely off of the totem placement. The cooldown coming up at the last second, giving him the blessing in disguise. Raisy straight back in. This one's high octane.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the benefits Berserk will always have is, look, it's mostly used as an escape. The instant speed acceleration is always nice to have. By the way, here comes the Plasma and another trade. Who's going to get the more favorable spawn? That's what I wonder. av3k now. He's going to spawn near Banana. He's going to have an LG. And the thing about fighting Doomslayer is the LG in many ways is the miracle weapon. It shuts down the double jump and it makes it so much easier. Teleporter is going to give him somewhat of an escape. Raisy isn't going to chase it too heavily. He wants to keep some control instead. But, I mean, using the Berserk fresh off the spawn is the highest output of damage that he had. He got the repick and that cheeky little rail. I'm pretty sure that's the kind of frag that makes av3k at home reel back in his chair like, oh, okay, fair enough, you got me. You got me.
Instead, he's just going to run straight in, right?
Got him again. Got him again.
Oh, 8-7 at this point. 6 minutes in as well. There's still 4 minutes of mayhem to continue here because both of them are butting heads. It's like two Triceratopses trying to battle for dominance. Shots. And that is lovely as well. Through the murder hole, trying to give it its name's justice there as he lands the shot with a rail. Getting him so low. Talking about low. How is he even alive at this point, Ryan? This is just lunacy.
That totem's not going to save you. It's just going to delay the inevitable now. He's going to try and trap the spawn. He gets it. Can't land the two-piece sandwich combo, though, with fries.
Oh, absolutely. The animal fries.
Again, that was animal fries.
That was the animalistic play.
Just mashed it all up. You ever had animal fries before?
I have. They're bloody good.
They are, man. They're so good. Anyway, moving on. 10-7 here for Raisy. But, I mean, it's been high octane, right? It's been super crazy aggressive, and it's just been ultimately av3k. That sort of slow start at the very beginning. Raisy's just starting to hit everything, and av3k maybe temporarily not even realizing just how weak he was. Like, it almost felt like he almost peaked that, expecting himself to have a bit more health than he had to take that rocket shot. av3k going for the Hail Mary rail, but it doesn't work. Sometimes you hit a rail, it doesn't matter, you're still dead. The downtime in between shots is still going to exist. And Raisy just completely turning things up to 11, and he's hitting rail after rail. This is ridiculous, Jackie. Absolutely ridiculous. av3k trying to fight for the heavy, but will it be in vain? He's going to eat so much damage, and at this point, dare I say, he might just simply deny it. He's going to die anyway. Raisy, not very healthy, but there's a lot of pickups on the map. There's a lot of bubbles, the small armor, wonderfully going through the teleporter now, so the rocket damage doesn't come through either. He knows the light armor's nearby, and he can maintain this chase. Finally misses a shot. He's been going for minutes. That's the first time he'd missed a rail.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. At first, it was actually very close. Both of them just constantly going neck and neck in terms of the trades, but at this point, the difference maker is Raisy! He hits the rocket as well. He didn't even need the frag, but he's still going to claim it. Annihilates av3k. Bear in mind, he's had this Berserk up the whole time, so if things do get dicey, he can either use it to escape or use it to fully commit and just go absolutely wild and try and style on av3k, and that's just what he's doing. He has double the kills right now, and there is just not enough time. If av3k is going to go on a sicko mode level play, it needs to be right here, right now, and I just don't see it happening because these rockets are getting raunchy. However, av3k will at least get one frag on the board. Brings it up to 8, Ryan, but he's going to need oh so much more.
They were trading it for a long time, but now we've reached a dangerous position where Raisy has a significant lead. And for av3k to make this comeback is, I mean, near unthinkable at this stage. He has to just chain it over and over and over. There's no time, downtime, getting hit by those defensive rails too, and Raisy hitting another one. Things just became quite bleak, unfortunately. av3k's in a world of hurt now. He hasn't got a lot of time to do what must be done. And against Raisy, who's hitting these shots, it's not just getting the chain of kills, which I don't even think is even possible anymore. It's depending on Raisy to no longer hit those defensive rockets. And in this case, the rails that have just kept av3k behind. Lovely shot. Even tries to go in for the crouch on the jump to make himself a bit smaller to hit. And it doesn't matter. Damage dealer is right. He's been hitting so much of these shots, it doesn't matter.
Did you know that Raisy used to be a professional clown in a previous life? Because he is a master juggler, Ryan.
I knew you were going somewhere with that. I knew it. That sounded almost like an insult at first. You know, this guy's a clown. Because he juggles really well.
He does.
If anything, it was a prop. And it was a good prop. This map is over.
I think it is. 100%. I think av3k's realised as well at that point. It's just way too late into it, right? Look, we don't have too much time left to work with. av3k, unfortunately, on the full commit, isn't going to even get a consolation frag to play with. It's going to be a 17-8 scoreline unless he can try and add another one to his total tally. av3k's called the GG. At this point, it's just sportsmanship.
Yeah, we didn't really get to see a lot of Galena action coming through. av3k just didn't have the... in many ways, I think that's actually why Raisy was being so crazy aggressive. He was being really aggressive at the beginning too. It was just a matter of... We actually saw the exact opposite end of why you don't want to let Galena set up on our previous map, with Garpy and Sparty. If you allow Galena to set up shop and she starts getting all of the totems around, she can maintain a level of control almost completely unmatched compared to every other champion in the game. Raisy, understanding a matchup that he's playing in, tries to be aggressive from pretty much the starting line. Doesn't work out at the very beginning. I pointed out that I think maybe he was being a bit too aggressive. I think a huge part of that might have been he was having maybe unfavorable spawns. The rail was making such a big difference. He wasn't always near the rail on spawn, and sometimes he was kind of missing those shots. So he was being aggressive without the accuracy to kind of pay off. Whereas after a few minutes, it completely flipped on its head, and he was just an animal, really. And you can see why he was going for it in the first place.
It's just the rough part as well, is once you actually let him start thriving in the chaos, it's so hard to slow him down. His confidence starts peaking. He just goes for any possible firefight he can. The movement is ridiculous as well. Like, mechanical skill is through the roof when you actually see him navigate around a map. Like some of the fights we had where there's the smallest amount of cover, you have like a tiny pillar blocking you and him, and you are dancing, but he does the most brilliant waltz you've ever seen whilst just slapping you in the face with a rail over and over and over. The juggling skills were masterful. The rockets looked ridiculous. It was all there in a really nice package that was given to us. Like, by far, one of the nicest games in terms of just the display of, look, this is me just going to go on a mad one and show you that I can out-frag you. That was what we got given there. And it's scary because it means he's woken up. Like, he was feeling it. You could see with the mouse movement, he looked like he was on the ball in terms of just being awake and being crisp.
Yeah, and I think at the same time too, av3k looked like nicely composed at the very beginning of the map, where he was kind of just springing traps, even down to that really nice little sort of finesse frag. I think it was the fourth one where we kind of just saw Raisy. It was very obvious who's being crazy aggressive. You hear the rocket go off. av3k knows that's a rocket jump. He's going to be coming through. Just kind of just hits the angle, waits for the LG, kind of just trails it all the way, and almost just makes Raisy look like an amateur in that one moment in time where it's like the most obvious thing in the world. But then very, very quickly when it started to be hyper aggressive, so that Galena can't set up and start getting those totems there. Whenever we saw a totem placed by av3k, it wasn't to try and set up and establish any threat on the map. It was to try and give himself some bonus health, which stopped working. It didn't even matter that he'd put a totem down because he was taking so much damage from Raisy. The totems became a non-factor. And then when you have the totems out of play, Doomslayer has the mobility on you. He's got the double jump. Even the Berserk had its time to shine in that one. Just getting the refrag when it was the only weapon he had available that would have done the damage. We are now going to be going into Corrupted Keep, though. So it's one small map into another. Only this one has no rail. And to be honest, considering the rail was such a star performer on Awoken, kind of interested to see how this one goes. Raisy's LG is absolutely phenomenal anyway, but we're going by the picks. It should be, this I believe was a clutch map, if memory serves me right, and this was projected to be a Raisy advantage. I mean, clutch on any small map, especially when the rocket becomes a factor, is not particularly fun to fight, and I think that's why Raisy, he squeezed it in. He's definitely the one to watch in this map.
Well, let's see who is going to be giving us the absolute showstoppers already. They kick it off. av3k taking a little bit of face damage straight in the action, as this one is going to kick off with some bangers. There's the injection so we can try and go in for the all-out aggression. The assault coming through, backs off as he wants to try and grab a bubble. Both of them in fairly similar positions in terms of the stack, but it looks like they might butt heads once again. Actually backing off. Gives him a little bit of time to grab himself the LG. Fair bit of damage transferred across. Still, though, it's the absolute stalemate. This has already been a lot of commotion in the first 30 seconds.
It's interesting because it is a complete clash. These are two of the fastest champions in the game. Anarchy with just that pure, raw control and speed. Raisy getting caught trying to go for his air dash. The thing about Clutch is that at the height, he's actually very, very hard to play optimally. If you get caught missing an air dash by a smidge and you catch a wall right there, it almost cost Raisy his life. I'm actually surprised he even survived that encounter. He does live to fight another day. What does he do to recover? That's the question. Barely a delay, if any, in between Mega and Heavy. So it is going to be the Heavy taken. av3k knows he's already going to be there. And just look how quickly in and out. We're so used to seeing champions get ambushed by Heavy and they just get, completely surprised. They can't survive. That air dash that Clutch has, I mean, who cares? He doesn't care about getting surprised. Man can just get out whenever he wants.
It also gives us that masterclass of movement and shows just how graceful you can be in a game of Quake Champions. The injection's been popped, the back off's going to come through. Havoc not slowing down, both of them so low. There could be another frag found right here. Instead though, Raisy retreats for the meantime, realizes what situation he's in. He's going to get himself a free mega. The trader went steady for the armor. The lightning gun is so crisp though, and both of them barely survive. The shotgun coming through as Av3k had a two fake and Raisy administers the painkiller.
However, av3k is going to have the movement and the stack. He's do as much damage as he can. He's going to chase it down. And can he escape? That's the question. Gets caught on those refrags, I think, especially in this matchup. Anarchy, so fantastic. Spawning, get that circle jump, build up that speed, and go in for the kill. Clutch can do the exact same thing with his air dash. And it's always going to be a game of how much damage will you take after the frag has been obtained. You know, it's not just about the fight you're immediately taking, it's how you can recover, because they're going to spawn and they're probably going to go for you again, especially if you're weak.
Although weak is definitely what they're not right now. Both of them in a fairly good position in terms of the stack. Basically mirrored across the boards. The only difference is one has armor, the other has HP, but they both have an absolute bucket load of confidence. They have been going for these constant wars between each other, and another one could be developing right here, right now, as they set themselves up. The slow style of play. Raisy just going to hold on the angle, waiting for the fight to come towards him. A cheeky rocket launched out. It won't slap him in the face, but it is going to slow down the time. Burn some extra time off the clock and leave them in an awkward position once they do re-aggress, Ryan.
Yep, that Mega's going to spawn, and so with it, the Heavy. They're going to completely trade it off, and av3k, as you can see how quickly Raisy can kind of zip around this map. Normally you kind of get a nice amount of information, you can kind of gauge where someone is. Clutch can kind of just zip around all over the shop, so you've got to be pretty confident in your ability. He's heard the shield has been popped. However, av3k, he's actually going to have an advantage in the fact now he can be a little bit more aggressive if he wants to. He has got the injection, of which he's going to pop it. He wants to try and force him away. You notice av3k was definitely saving it, but he gets caught a little bit around the corner. Doesn't matter though, because Raisy, health just gets melted away. The danger of those larger champions, where the accuracy, I mean, you're going to have crazy accuracy, especially the SSG. It's all about pellet spread, right? The bigger you are, the more vulnerable you are to the spread of a super shotgun.
You love to see it though. It provides some very interesting frags when it actually does come through with one. Instead, it looked like it was actually going to be the punishment off the back of av3k instead. Raisy, raising hell like Smoking Joe Fraser, the Hellraiser, still continuing along on his war path as they get tied up 2-2, and he's hungry to try and add to that right here, right now. Spams down with the LG. Wants to make it a bit of a shocker, but it won't be a lightning storm for him. No fireworks in the sky tonight, as again, they fall into the little bit of a slowdown. They have to try and take their time. They don't want to rush things. Raisy has the mega health. Back out with the LG, tagging him from a high up angle. He is going to get him low, and it was the overcommit. It doesn't work out well. av3k just too low. Didn't have the stack to come off on top.
It feels like so far av3k has had a immaculate LG, and I know a huge part of that will be the fact that he's against Clutch, you know, the largest champion in the game. However, immediately melted away. Shocker. The classic case of Clutch. If this champion has a rocket launcher and you in a close space, he is harder to kill than I think any champion in the game. It's why he's so lethal on maps like this, and he's catching av3k spawn after spawn, starving him away from all the resources. And as long as Raisy keeps a larger stack and his accuracy is on point, it doesn't matter that he's easy to hit. He will just delete, of which av3k falls again. This is just going to be a complete snowball effect at this stage, and the more av3k is being downed, nowhere near the hourglass is, Raisy's in a perfect position to just constantly have the shield. av3k, he's going in for the gauntlet because it's all he has access to, and even that does reduce damage thanks to the shield wall here. av3k is a fantastic rocket, needs a lot more than that though, and if you can keep Clutch away from momentum, there are many ways you have to try and do it. But Raisy has the super shotgun, but he's getting sent forever! Out you go! Out you go, mate. Caught in too much of the chaos there, Jackie.
That's rough. Bouncy bouncy as he goes shooting off. Another one going to come through though as Raisy, he's not going to slow down. It doesn't matter. All that's done is getting more and more fired up. av3k will at least find himself a lightning gun to play with, but the shield's going to come into effect. He's just toying with him once again, bouncing him in the air, making him look like he's a human trampoline at this point, because he is getting trampled on. Although he should actually fall here. Raisy, incredibly low. He's been knocked all over the shop at this point, and it won't take much to finish him. That'll be the connection with the bullets to at least put him back into an early grave and try and equalize that scoreline at least somewhat. He's not too far off, and there is enough time, as this one has been nothing but go, go, go.
And I think that's just, in many ways, this is just the champion matchup that we're seeing. You know, the reduced damage comes through. Raisy can't quite finish it. That is the danger. I mean, if you're going to play one of those champions that has the larger hitbox, or refrag, as we said at the beginning of this map. It's such a super like fast and furious map, and it's actually quite refreshing to see. You know, whenever you see these two champions go head to head on a map like this, you kind of know what's going to happen. And you know, by all means, there, Raisy, that was not his fight 100% secured. You know, the second there's an SSG and Clutch is in shot, it's more predictable that he's going to take a lot more damage than other champions, and just because of his size alone. You have to hit your targets. You need to have good movement. It can't be undersold just how hard this champion is to play. At the highest level, hits the final shot. av3k sticking around, and I understand why. He needs to get this champion out. He's got so much movement speed, and there's so many little pickups here on the map that just because Clutch will be weak when he goes down doesn't mean he's completely guaranteed to die. Get some of that plasma, but doesn't hit its mark. Bit of a sizable lead there from Raisy, but this is Corrupted Keep with this matchup. It could go either way up until the final minute. Do not count this out.
There's definitely a chance, but it might just come down to Raisy's weapon prioritization that has been so blissful to watch. Every fight you can see it's calculated. He knows exactly when to switch, what he wants to use in every given scenario, and right now it's going to be a bit of an awkward fight. He didn't really have the stack for it, and av3k finally went headstrong, just all in, trying to take him down, bounces straight back in as well with a rocket coming through. It's going to slam into him. The super shotgun comes back out. Oh no, av3k starting to look woken up now.
That was a very, very favourable spawn for av3k to actually catch Raisy on, but the LG's looking too good. If you're Raisy and you have an LG in hand, it's one of his stronger weapons. I know actually was always seen to be, you know, the community would sometimes, I guess, doubt Raisy's LG. And then it only took a few months of him to silence the haters, as it were. And now, whenever Raisy's got an LG on a map like this, it's kind of scary. Especially now the shield wall, you know, being passively there. It's no longer what it was once upon a time, the single hitting wall of old. It kind of opens up your arsenal a little bit. You're not stuck to using just the rocket launcher. You can favour your LG a lot more heavily. Now it's forever active. And av3k just unable to run away. Doesn't even need the shield wall. This is when things get scary. You know, where he's running on so much momentum and he's not even having to use the ability that keeps him alive. And he's going to pop it now to try and reduce the SSG damage. av3k, he can't even escape. There's no escape. There was no amount of speed he could build up that could contest with the dash of Clutch. This is looking so good now for Raisy and looking to be another map. Small versus large. I mean, this is what happens when control is established.
Well, he just lives in the hell as well, doesn't he? He just loves it. The fast-paced moments where he's allowed to just bounce around. He realizes he's got such a big lead as well, where you would see some players now try and slow that down and just not actually throw away anything. Instead, he does the exact opposite. He realizes, all right, if I just carry on and keep giving it over and over again, I'm going to just really just live it and absolutely dominate in every opportunity. You can see just how beautiful it is in the predictions, the movement, how accurate he's been as well. Pinpoint precision the entire time. We hardly see him miss a shot when he's tracing with that lightning gun.
Ugh, and against Anarchy, that is no easy feat, especially seeing as Anarchy has that increased movement speed. And Raisy, nice guy Raisy, I will be honest. He totally just let av3k live there. He didn't even try and shoot him. He knew he was typing.
Yeah.
He was stuck moving. Every single frag he earns, he wants to earn it. You know what? I respect that, Raisy. Nice guy. Nice
He
guy.
doesn't want them given to him.
Good guy, Raisy. Good guy, Raisy. Map is completely and utterly over. 20-8, very dominant by the end, but it's crazy to say that that was actually back and forth for most of it. It was the final moments that just allowed Clutch to lay on that pressure, and it's what we know him for. There's a reason when people fight Raisy, they very often ban this champion out. They do not want to deal with it.
No. But it just plays to every single one of his strengths at that point. It was really lovely to actually see that, though, with the constant fast-paced aggression. You don't see it too often, really, in terms of the champs that we have actually had, you know, match up. It's a little bit of a difference in playstyles the whole time, so it does give you some sort of more interesting games. But that was definitely one of the nicer ones in the sense that it is just constant, high-octane fights over and over and over again. And it really just plays into the hand of Raisy, someone that just loves to just run away with things and do anything he can. He doesn't slow down. He doesn't hold back on the pace. This man's tempo is just unparalleled.
I mean, Clutch is a seesaw. If he's behind, you can kind of catch him on spawn a lot, but you've got to make sure you've got a stack that's at least, you know, able to contest. If Clutch were to die on this map, there's quite a lot of spawns that can at the very least give you some decent weapons. We saw a couple of situations where Raisy would spawn near SSG. By no means is that an unfavourable spawn, even if there's no heavy nearby, because against Anarchy, if you have a shield wall available, if you have an SSG and he's right near you, all it takes is a couple of blasts. So I would almost think that on Corrupted Keep we see more crazy shotgun kills from Raisy than almost anyone. I almost feel like when you look back and look at those crazy situations where he just swaps to a shotgun because he knows that if he hits the magic spread, It's more damage than anything else he has, be it less consistent, because if he misses, he's in a bad spot. I feel like Raisy just gets those shotgun kills so much more. But I mean, that's just the danger of the champion pick and why the champion rotation is so important. Every time you see Raisy pick clutch, it's safe to assume he has the advantage in that map, because he has one of the absolute best clutches in the world. And with a champion that has that high of a skill gap at the highest level, I always have to say that it's because at the highest level of play, I think you can punish him quite heavily. Where he is a big boy. He's got that massive hitbox. So he's
got the girth.
He's easy to rail. He's easy to LG. And av3k accuracy was not an issue for him there. It was just when he was actually able to get the LG, Raisy's health was melting down. It was just the momentum, right? He got fragged once, and the pain train never stopped. And that's why you'll see these champions get selected. And in some ways, though, you can just write the map off. If you're av3k here, you can go, right, look, it was Raisy, it was clutch. Fair enough, it's kind of expected. Don't really think too much about that map, because I think most people out there, if not any player in the world, if they had to face Raisy's clutch on that map, would probably lose the same way. I think it's a hard ask to beat that.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, because on the point of the shotgun, right, it's the fact that there's actually only one other player that we see use it that much. Again, starting with R being Rafa, the fact that he's someone that really understands that weapon prioritization to such a ridiculous level, right? It's always been something that's been in his skill ceiling, is how he approaches the game, realizing this is the arsenal I have available to me. I need to choose the right tool for each and every job, and he does so well. We see a very similar situation coming out there, so hopefully we get some more of that on display as we are back in. Raisy on the Knicks. Let's see if this man can be a nuisance, Ryan.
We're guaranteed a change of pace, that's for sure. Raisy with the Knicks, av3k with the visor. I know, we talk about champions sometimes, but if there is one thing that is a hard counter, piercing sight and ghost walk. Piercing sight is the counter for that, but only in the right circumstances, right? If you can force it out a little bit earlier and use it to chase. In this case, av3k has used the piercing sight to get some early information, which is why he got that, that trap-laid tri-bolt. But if Raisy can now make a fight happen, if he's equipped for it. He hasn't got a rocket yet, which is quite important. He can bang out with the Ghost Walk if need be, and now he doesn't have to worry too much that he's actually going to get chased down and seen. He's going to meet him head on. The damage is pretty good either way, but remaining significantly even so far. We're going to finally get a shotgun as well, and Raisy, the one thing he's missing is that rocket launcher, but I feel like you need it. Those prediction rails will only go so far. He's on the way. He can definitely hear that he's nearby. Yeah, we heard those steps. But there was no shot just yet. A nice delay in between Heavy and Mega, so who draws first blood? We'll find out. He's seen him. He's going in for those wall jumps too to make av3k's turn around a little bit more unpredictable, hitting some fantastic LG. And that's actually going to force av3k away. He's definitely not going to be able to get him in time, and Raisy knows this is a Heavy locked in. Let's try and get some damage first.
Warning shots coming across as well there, at least to try and delay for the meantime, as he has been able to build up that stack. He is able to actually just slow this one down. The prediction could work out well as he drops down, gets himself in a good position to try and hit him with a backbreaker. Moves himself back around. The Mega is up, and he is going to be able to snatch it for free. And now Raisy's in a huge spot. He's got all the stack in the world. He's got the complete arsenal as well, the trifecta, and each and everything he could possibly want to try and dissect av3k is in his hands. As now he just creeps into position, holding out, waiting for the assault to come towards him. The piercing sight is available. If he wants to pop it, he can spot him out, have the information to work with, but both of them are just keeping it so slow. There's a bit of a ruckus, though, coming through. That's going to be the denial on the armor as well, so it's actually quite smart from Raisy to just isolate any potential advantage here from av3k, Ryan.
We finally had a identical collect, though, for Mega and Heavy, and the immediate Ghost Walk. av3k hasn't got his piercing sight, but it's fair to assume that Raisy's going to stick around. Now he's been able to do significant damage. The defensive rail doesn't matter because Raisy's stack was just too damn good. And now, finally, we have one frag. But that's why they played it so slow. If they can both keep a good stack, av3k wasn't really able to force the Ghost Walk out of Raisy, so when the fight finally happened, Raisy had it. And that's actually, honestly, a prop to Raisy, just managing his ability so perfectly that by the time he used Ghost Walk, it was when he was damn confident that the piercing sight was gone. And this, in many ways, it is the matchup that Raisy is playing right now, is Visor versus Nyx.
Well, Raisy, He's in a huge position as well, because as soon as that comes off of cooldown, he can use it technically as just a delay tactic as well to roam around and waste so much extra time if he does get into a kerfuffle versus av3k that he doesn't feel like he is going to come out on top with. That was a nice opening rail though, a good initiation into this firefight. A near miss on the rocket as they're going to be whizzing by, but he's still pushing his own agenda. The rocket barely going underneath av3k as he jumps above it, the rail slightly missing as well. Oh, it could have been glorious.
I was just popping off because of that jump that Raisy hit. That was a really clean, Nick-specific jump up by the jump pad. There's one thing Raisy just knows how to do. It's if there's a trick jump possible with any champion on any map, Raisy's the guy that's going to know it. Goes in for the safety, piercing sight, looking to land another one. Goes in for the rocket this time, bounces down, and once more, doesn't matter that av3k is hitting these immaculate rails because it's the wrong weapon for the job, and he's consistently getting killed for it too. Raisy is just judging the HP and stack so much better than av3k right now. He's going to peek. He's actually going to challenge the nails. He's confident he can run this like Takeshi's cancel of a gauntlet. Come on, man. Dodge the nails.
It's so rough. Just the approach to the game from Raisy. Oh, it's just beautiful to watch, especially his rails, the refire coming out. That is just lunacy, Ryan, that he's been able to follow that up so quickly and so devastating as well. As he takes down av3k once again, now he's straight back into the fray. This could actually be a very smart play.
Disgusting!
Just the ruse there, tricking him into believing he had backed off. Instead, it was all just a massive lampooning.
A lot of these plays too, Raisy is putting absolute faith in his ability to hit perfect accuracy. Absolutely perfect accuracy. Because if that rocket wasn't direct, it probably wouldn't have killed av3k. And av3k's chance to turn around would have gone much more higher. It's just, he knows he's in such a perfect position. There's a lot of confidence oozing out through Raisy. A lot of his decisions here, they're flawless decision making. And this is what I always love to see about Raisy. It's just, he's a man of many talents and a man of many playstyles.
The adaptation he's got is just so wonderful to watch. The way he navigates around the map, the way he just systematically dissects each and every firefight he gets himself into. This is one that could work out awkward for him. Instead, though, it's the escape tactic that comes out. He's still landing the rockets as well, and he's somehow gotten away scot-free. He's alive, goes back through the teleporter. Normally, you would back off and go for the safe play. Instead, Raisy, he tries to push it, and again, go in for the all-out anarchy. He doesn't get the kill, and finally concedes one frag. Could this be the follow-up here for av3k? The railgun coming in hot.
Well, we did finally see a turnaround where av3k was in a position where he could, at last use his piercing sight to counter the Ghost Walk. The Ghost Walk has been such a pain in his backside where there's a fight happening, there's a get out of jail free card, Raisy, if things are bad, he can go invisible if he wants to, or he can just get this entry damage and make his chase a lot scarier, because you have no idea where he's going to re-emerge from. That was the first time av3k finally had the wall hack to see through the invisibility, and it finally secured him a kill. But this is, I think, honestly, it is a testament to Raisy and how well he's actually playing around the abilities. He's very rarely taking a fight unless he's convinced piercing sight has been gone first, and the only way to decide when piercing sight is gone is either see a shot or a rail, or at least just have the maths in your head to say, right, I think he's gone for it now. Was that a piercing sight shot? And if he's right, great, I can now go in. And if he doesn't see my Ghost Walk, that read and that decision was just so well calculated. There's so much information that goes through his head to determine when the right time to go in is versus a top-level visor. It's immaculate, really.
He's a human supercomputer. He's just constantly crunching those numbers, and now he looks to try and crunch on the bones of av3k as well, as he goes straight in, barely surviving with, 30 HP total there on his stack of everything he had left. Really barely getting through by the skin of his teeth on that one. There is 2 frags difference between them both. We're at 7 minutes on the clock. There is still a big chance for re-entry here for av3k. He has to try and leave his imprint soon here, though, and stamp his name onto the server.
That was some absolutely beautiful LG from av3k, but that was only one frag of many. He has got some work to do if he wants to take this one back. But again, piercing sight comes through, gives him information. And he knows it's been used a bit, which is why he hit that shot, but he's taken a lot of damage himself. Is this going to allow the chase? No, it won't. Raisy, he's going to be careful here. No reason to overextend, even if we can get one frag. If there's a small chance that it can go pear-shaped and become a 4-3, then perhaps that risk isn't necessarily worth taking. Raisy, he's going to completely transform now. I don't expect this more sort of visceral chase down style. That was some incredible rocket damage. How does Raisy escape? He has got a lot of avenues.
Wow.
av3k with the read! He should be able to chase this one down. So well played. Reading Raisy's escape like a book, Jackie. And the rail. Come on.
Wow, that's the re-entry he wants as well. Straight back in. There's no slowing down now. He's fired up, he's amped up, and he's looking to show that off with some finesse level frags coming through. The prediction was wonderful. The firefight went so well from him, and now he's getting that movement up as well. He's really starting to pump up the octane and run away with things here. If he can equalize the scoreline now, Ryan, there's so much more, and the last minute of this game could just be crazy intense between both of these boys. At this point, he slows it down for a couple of seconds, grabs the extra hourglasses, meaning he can use his tactical visor. Now he gets the spot out. He knows the read, the pre-fire around the corner.
Okay.
The rail is lovely. He tags him up. He's incredibly low on the stack. He actually has left overall. He wants to try and wait for the armor, but he's going to ascend. Puts himself on a pedestal. He has the high ground, but can he slap down versus Raisy right here, right now?
It's the change of game plan. He knows that he has 1 minute to play with, and he has one frag. If he can just win through the one frag alone, he'll take this one. Caught in a tricky position now. He's trying to chase it down, going through the teleporter. Actually, Raisy smells blood. If he gets this frag, it just became somewhat of a mammoth task. He's done so much damage now. av3k forced to retreat, which is kind of worst case scenario, really, because as Raisy runs around, he too will have somewhat of an opportunity to stack. He's railable now, though. Got to be careful. Finally collects a light armor, but that's all the armor he's going to get around there. He's going to dip down towards av3k. Brave taking this chance to go near heavy. It is going to take valuable seconds, and he needs to make it count and chase it down. Misses the rail. This is so unfortunate. He's got to land the damage. Hits a rail and the piercing sight for the perfect counter. He goes off the jump pad and the suicide. Raisy, oh no! He did not expect the piercing sight at all, and he went up the jump pad probably thinking he was perfectly safe.
This is the rough part as well. He's now thrown himself into a position where there is no chance to re-aggress on this. av3k, he's got the stack to work with. We're going to go into sudden death. It's do or die now. He can deny the extra points and stop this from being the complete 3-0 pickup for Raisy. He's raining a hellfire salvo down from above. Rocket after rocket slapping into the face of Raisy. As we get into this sudden death, he can take his time here. He doesn't need to overcommit.
av3k stole away a 3-0 before. This actually wouldn't be the first time we've seen him come in with the absolute last-minute clutch. And if you can do it again, I mean, that's just unfortunate for poor old Raisy. He's been on the verge of 3-0s before, and it's been stolen away from him. Is history going to repeat itself? av3k, he's on the hunt. But he doesn't get any information. How is this one frag going to go? He's more stacked, but he hasn't got piercing sight. Even split on the abilities though, so is this fight going to come down to my ability versus yours? That's the question. When av3k's got these frags, it is purely because he's been timing the piercing sight perfectly. On contrary, you know, Raisy's been working around it at the start, av3k started working around it at the end. And I think that they've both got piercing sight ready. Does av3k pull the trigger on it now, or does he wait? I'm really thinking maybe he's going to wait. He can't hear it, so maybe he has to try and get some information. We'll soon see. It's going to be piercing sight saved for the fight, or now for its utility.
The worrying factor
oh my word.
He's going to realize at this point, Ryan, both of them have their abilities up. This is the scary factor. Nearly 2 minutes into the overtime, literally both of them just holding, wanting to see who makes the first move, who is going to make the mistake and reveal their hand. Finally, some movement coming back around from av3k. He's going to start to roam around. He's looking to try and hunt him down. If Raisy doesn't have this fight go the way he wants immediately, he can pop it, he can run out of there, play the long game, play the safe game. av3k, sure, he can try and chase with his tactical visor, but that's about it. The scary factor is, this could actually favor Raisy, although he goes in with it. Okay. He has the prediction. The rail could be ready, but he misses on the opener, Ryan.
Information for Raisy. He knows that rail would have hit because he had piercing sight locked and loaded. Now if Raisy wants to go in for the kill, he has the invisibility to essentially have that ace in the hole, that trump card. He's going to have some time to work with. If Raisy wants to be aggressive, this is a pretty good time to do it. But he's running out of time already. No, we are going to maintain this pace, Jackie. We're going to go back to this absolute game of chicken. Who's going to try and shoot the trigger first? I'm not really sure. They're both being equally careful, aren't they? Right.
Oh.
Piercing sight. He's hitting the angle. Does he know he's there? Or is this just spam? The decisions Raisy having to go through. Does he know I'm here, or is he just trying to bait something out of me? There's a lot of player versus player here. This is no longer just a matchup of the two champions, nor is it the map. This is Raisy and this is av3k. Their experience against each other is going to matter so much. That rail makes a difference, but he actually does go in. He's pretty content. I think that was a piercing sight tri-bolt up there. And he was right. Once more. The one thing I mine up is the somewhat of a delay. Raisy's going to take the bait, taking a lot of damage. This could be the final fight. Both players really weak. Watch out! Oh my word, at the last second. That was a close one, Jackie. And the game is going to be over. Raisy getting it at the last second versus av3k. But if that was a denial another time in a row, then I would have just felt bad. But this time, Raisy's been able to correct the wrongs, and he secured himself the 3-0.
That was a tasty little bit of sudden death, though. Probably the longest one we've seen in quite some time, but it gave us some exciting moments. It was really just the entire point proven there of why Quake Champions is such a big mind game. The mental aspect of, like, the difference now where you have all these active abilities to think about and trying to work out, right, not only have I got to manage what arsenal I have to play with, the pickups that I've got to try and control based off the timing if he's delaying me, but also, is he using those abilities? When can I actually go for the full commit? Really just the 101 there of how you can trick your opponent into really playing not to win, but just to survive.
It's decision making, and that's what separates top level players from the rest of us. You know, ultimately it comes down to just game knowledge, and that's what Raisy has in droves. I remarked at the very beginning of this series that when Raisy started his career in Quake Champions, it was always kind of remarked by the community, oh, this guy he just does the Quake Champion stuff, you know, he abuses the abilities, he does this, he does that. But what was always denied was just his raw skill. And the size of this guy's brain, like the amount of decisions that Raisy makes entirely based on just his own understanding of the game. Like, this guy is a scientist of Quake, especially this side of the pond, you know. Rafa's not the only professor out there in this community. Raisy's always coming up with these crazy ideas, these wonderful trick jumps, of which we saw a couple of them on this map actually with Nyx. And it's just that sudden death was, you had to make the most perfect of decision. Has he used Piercing Sight? Has he got his ability ready? What hourglasses are nearby? Like, right here, he miscalculated it, right? He thought he was free to get away. I'm not even gonna, you know, remark on the fact that was a suicide, because that was a dead kill, yeah. Better or worse. You know, Raisy had to try and go for something. At worst, maybe he could try and trade it out. But, you know, well played to Raisy. He's showing us all and reminding us all why he's one of the best players in the world, and that sudden death was just smart. The smart stuff, Jackie.
Well, that's the thing, right? He showed he can do the flashy stuff. He showed he can do the high-level, in-your-face, aggressive, non-stop, constant action. He can smack you down over and over again. But he also showed how clever he is in when to approach it slowly, when to go for the sneaky plays, that you don't need to overcommit to every firefight. Even just the use of the Ghost Walk as well. Like, constantly, he wouldn't always use it as the escape. He would just use it as the mind game of thinking, right, well, my opponent is obviously going to believe that at this point I've just gone. He's going to try and commit which path I might have gone for. Instead, he'd just sit there. He'd play it safe, which we don't actually see that often. It's one of those where when it works brilliantly, or other times it just works really wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we saw 3 maps and we saw 3 different playstyles, and that's Raisy in a nutshell. You know, well played to av3k though. You know, you definitely made him fight for it at the last second, but I just think, yeah, today was just Raisy's day, and he's definitely not a player that has to worry about the lower end of the bracket at all. I think he's going to be totally fine in the Quake Pro League, and sure, we'll be seeing him do good stuff, not only in the weeks to come, but, you know, the upcoming LAN as well. The stories that are building and the player placements, and it's all about trying to, you know, climb the ladder now. But as we go week after week, things do start to get a lot more juicy. We have more matches coming up here for the Pro League, EU and CIS. Thanks for sticking us so far here. It's been a good day so far, and there's plenty more maps to go. We're going to go for a break. See you guys in a few minutes, and take care.